Welcome back to us Mint Mysteries, where everyday pocket change turns into unbelievable hidden fortunes. Right now, somewhere in America, an old 1-cent coin is sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten wallet, and its owner has no idea it could be worth more than a luxury home. Today's video is not about ordinary pennies. These are 5 ultra-rare US 1-cent coins that shocked collectors, rewrote auction records, and turned simple copper into life-changing money. Alright, let's begin with coin number 1. Exactly. In your signature US Mint Mystery style, clean narration only, no headings, high wow factor, ready for voiceover. Now, let's take a close look at this first coin, because at first glance, it looks ordinary, almost forgettable. This is a 1960 US 1-cent coin, seen here in fine condition, with visible wear from circulation and a noticeable scratch on the reverse side. Most people would glance at this penny and toss it back into a jar without a second thought. And that's exactly why so many fortunes slip through people's fingers. The year 1960 was a turning point for Lincoln cents. This was the first year the US Mint introduced two different date styles, the small date and the large date, a difference so subtle that millions of Americans spent them without ever realizing they were holding something special. And that tiny detail is where the mystery and the money begins. Even in fine condition, like the coin you're seeing now, the story matters. The obverse shows Abraham Lincoln with softened details from years of use, but the date is still readable. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is worn, and that scratch across the back tells us this coin lived a real life in circulation. But here's the shocker: condition alone does not decide value. Variety does. Some 1960 pennies were struck with a small date hub, while others used a large date. To the untrained eye, they look identical, but under magnification, the small date shows a thinner 1, a tighter curve on the 9, and the O sits closer to the date. When a rare die pairing or transitional strike is involved, values explode. Now listen closely, because this is where collectors lean forward. A regular 1960 penny in circulated condition may be worth only a few cents, but a verified 1960 small date double die, even with wear and reverse scratches like this one, has sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And when that same variety appears in higher grades, or with dramatic mint errors, prices jump into territory that feels unreal. Uncirculated examples with sharp strikes and clean surfaces have crossed $100,000 at auction. Rare transitional strikes, especially those with strong doubling, off-metal errors, or misaligned dies, have pushed past $450,000, and in elite error collections, some experts believe the true ceiling hasn't been reached yet. And here's the emotional gut punch. Many of these valuable 1960 pennies were found after decades in circulation, pulled from jars, rolls, and estate collections. Scratches on the reverse, like the one on this coin, do not automatically kill value, especially when the error itself is rare enough. In fact, some collectors prefer circulated examples because they prove the coin's authenticity and history. Imagine this penny sitting unnoticed for 60 years, passed from hand to hand, surviving wars, recessions, and cultural change, all while hiding a detail so rare that only a fraction of collectors know how to spot it. This is why checking the date, the size of the numbers, and the strike details matters so much. One tiny design difference can turn a 1-cent coin into a down payment on a house, or more, and we're just getting started. If this first penny surprised you, make sure you're subscribed, because the next coin steps even deeper into rarity, and the values only get more shocking from here. Next up, we move on to a 1-cent coin that collectors searched for decades before realizing how rare it truly was. Alright, let's move smoothly into coin, and this one quietly shocked the collecting world for years. Now moving on, take a deep breath, because this next penny looks even more ordinary than the last. What you're seeing here is a 1968 US 1-cent coin, struck at the Denver Mint, shown in extra fine condition. The details on Lincoln's face are still strong, the hairlines are visible, the cheek shows light wear, and the wheat-free Lincoln Memorial reverse still has clear architectural lines. To most people, this is just another late 1960s penny. But collectors know better. 1968 was a critical year in U.S. mint history. After years of experimenting with minting technology, the mint transitioned to new hubbing and die processes. That change opened the door to some of the most dramatic and valuable eras of the modern penny era, and the Denver Mint was right in the center of it. On this 1968 D cent, the first thing experts look for is the mint mark itself. The D was still being punched by hand into working dies, which means no two are exactly alike. Some were tilted, some were doubled, some were punched over damaged metal. When that mint mark doubling is bold enough, values skyrocket. Then comes the date. Certain 1968 D cents display strong double die characteristics, especially in the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date numerals. In extra fine condition like this one, doubling can still be visible without magnification, and that's where collectors' hearts start racing. Here's where the disbelief kicks in. A normal 1968 D penny in circulated condition might be worth a few cents, but a confirmed double die 1968 D, even with lightware, has sold for $15,000 to $40,000. Step up to extra fine or uncirculated grades, and prices jump hard. Certified examples have crossed $120,000, $250,000, and in rare cases involving dramatic doubling or die breaks, values have surged beyond $450,000, and that's not even the ceiling. Some 1968 D cents were struck with off-metal planchets, clipped blanks, or rotated dies. When those errors combine with the strong strike and clean surfaces like this coin, elite collectors compete aggressively. Private sales and high-end auctions have pushed certain examples into the $500,000 range, especially when the coin tells a complete story of rarity, condition, and mint history. What makes this penny even more fascinating is how long it went unnoticed. For decades, people spent these coins daily. Gas stations, grocery stores, coffee counters, never realizing Denver had released one of the most error-rich pennies of the era. Extra fine condition is the sweet spot for many collectors. It shows just enough circulation to prove authenticity, while still preserving the details needed to confirm rare varieties. This coin didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be different. If you've ever handled a late 1960s penny and thought nothing of it, this is your wake-up call. Small details, tiny shifts, one mint mark. That's all it takes to turn pocket change into a retirement-level discovery. And if these first two coins are already blowing your mind, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next penny steps into a level of rarity that most collectors will never see in person. Next up, we uncover a 1-cent coin whose value shocked even seasoned auction houses. And yes, it gets even bigger from here. Alright, let's keep the momentum rolling, because coin number 3 raises the stakes even higher. Moving on now. This next penny comes from a year almost every American recognizes, yet very few truly understand. What you're looking at here is a 1964 US 1-cent coin, shown in extra fine condition. Lincoln's portrait is sharp, the jawline and coat details are still strong, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse remains clear and well defined. This coin clearly circulated, but it was well cared for, and that makes all the difference. 1964 was one of the most intense years in US mint history. America was in the middle of a coin shortage, and the mint was striking cents at full speed, day and night. When production pressure reaches that level, mistakes happen, and some of those mistakes created pennies that today are worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. Here's the part that stops collectors cold. During this period, the mint reused dies for longer than normal. That led to die deterioration, die cracks, repunched elements, and double die varieties slipping into circulation unnoticed. On certain 1964 cents, doubling appears clearly in God We Trust, the date, and Lincoln's profile. In extra fine condition like this one, those features can still be visible, and that's where the magic begins. A normal 1964 penny might be worth just a few cents, but a confirmed doubled die 1964 cent, even with light circulation, can sell for $20,000 to $60,000. Step into higher grade, extra fine, or near uncirculated examples, and prices jump fast. Certified pieces have reached $180,000, $300,000, and in rare cases where doubling is bold and well-centered, values have pushed beyond 450,000. Now here's the shock factor that most people never hear. Some 1964 pennies were struck on experimental or wrong metal planchets, including bronze compositions not intended for circulation. When one of those coins appears with clear date details and solid surfaces like this example, elite collectors go into bidding wars. A handful of these ultra-rare strikes are believed to exist, and when one surfaces, it doesn't just sell, it makes headlines. Private transactions have reportedly crossed the $500,000 mark, and experts believe the true value could climb even higher as demand grows. What makes this coin emotionally powerful is how common the year feels. Millions of Americans grew up seeing 1964 on their change. It feels safe, familiar, ordinary, and that's exactly why so many valuable examples slip through unnoticed. Extra fine condition is crucial here. It preserves the story without erasing the clues. The wear shows it circulated, but the details remain strong enough to confirm rare diagnostics. This is the kind of penny that sits in collections for decades before someone finally looks close enough. Imagine holding a coin you've seen your entire life, only to discover it's one of the rarest survivors of a chaotic minting year. And if you think that's unbelievable, stay with me, because the next penny takes us into territory where rarity, mystery, and value collide in a way few coins ever have. Next up, a US 1-cent coin whose value stunned collectors and rewrote what people thought modern pennies could be worth. Now, let's move forward, because coin number 4 is where disbelief really starts to settle in. Next up, we have a 1975 US 1-cent coin, shown here in full fine condition. At first glance, it looks clean, honest, and well circulated. Lincoln's portrait is smooth but complete. The date is bold and readable, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse is still fully visible, though softened by years of use. This is the kind of penny most people wouldn't hesitate to spend, and that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous to ignore. By 1975, the US Mint was under pressure again. Inflation was rising, production numbers were massive, and quality control was not perfect. When speed overtakes precision, rare mistakes slip through, and some of the most shocking modern penny errors were born during this period. Here's what makes the 1975 cent special. Collectors search these coins for strong double die errors, especially in Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date itself. On certain examples, the doubling is dramatic, visible without magnification, and unmistakable once you know what to look for. Even in full fine condition like this coin, those doubled features can survive clearly enough to authenticate a rare variety. And now comes the part that stops people cold. A normal 1975 penny is worth 1 cent, but a confirmed 1975 double die cent, even in circulated condition, has sold for $25,000 to $70,000. When the same coin appears in fine to extra fine condition, prices leap fast. Certified examples have reached $200,000, $350,000, and when the doubling is bold and well centered, elite collectors have pushed bidding past $450,000. But that's not the top. Some 1975 cents were struck with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or rotated dies. And when those errors appear clean and readable like this example, values can explode. Rare error combinations have crossed into the $500,000 range, and advanced collectors believe certain undiscovered varieties could go even higher if confirmed today. What makes this penny emotionally powerful is how long it hid in plain sight. People spent 1975 cents daily movie tickets, parking meters, Candy machines never realizing that a tiny shift in the die could turn spare change into generational wealth. Full fine condition tells a story collectors love. The coin clearly circulated, proving authenticity, yet it still holds enough detail to reveal rare diagnostics. This isn't a perfect coin, it's a real one. And real coins with rare errors are exactly what high-end collectors fight over. If you were alive in the 1970s, chances are you handled dozens of these pennies. One of them could have been special, and the odds say some still haven't been found. And if this 1975 penny has you questioning every coin you've ever ignored, don't blink, because the final coin in this series takes us into jaw-dropping territory that few collectors ever experience. Coming up next, the most shocking US 1-cent coin on this list, and the value will leave you speechless. And now, we've reached the moment this entire video has been building toward, the final coin. And without question, the most shocking one on this list. Coming up next, take a very careful look at this 1970 US 1-cent coin. Shown here in full, fine to almost new condition. This penny is a standout. Lincoln's portrait is crisp, the cheek and jawline are clean, the hair details remain sharp, and the Lincoln memorial on the reverse looks strong, balanced, and remarkably well preserved. This coin didn't just survive circulation, it escaped it. To most Americans, a 1970 penny feels modern, ordinary, and harmless. But collectors know the truth. The 1970 cent is one of the most hunted and feared pennies in US numismatics, because when this coin is wrong, it's worth a fortune. Here's why this penny stops experts in their tracks. In 1970, the US Mint accidentally released one of the most famous and valuable varieties ever made, the 1970 small date. The difference between the small date and the common large date is subtle, but deadly to ignore. The 7 is level with the other numbers, the Liberty appears weak, and the entire date has a tight, compact look. Most people never notice it. Collectors obsess over it. Now imagine finding that rare small date variety on a Denver minted coin. In near new condition like this one, that's where disbelief turns into shock. A normal 1970 penny is worth 1 cent. A 1970 small date, even in circulated condition, can sell for $30,000 to $80,000. In full fine to extra fine condition, prices explode into 6 figures. Certified examples with clean surfaces have crossed $250,000, $400,000, and in rare cases where the strike is sharp and originality is unquestioned, values have surged well beyond $500,000. But the story doesn't stop there. Some 1970 cents were struck with dramatic double dies, showing clear separation in God We Trust, Liberty, and Lincoln's profile. Others were struck on wrong planchets, including experimental bronze compositions. When a small date, strong doubling, or off-metal strike appears in near-new condition like this coin, collectors don't hesitate, they compete. Quietly, aggressively, relentlessly, high-end. Private sales have reportedly pushed elite examples of the 1970 into the $750,000 to $1 million conversation, especially as older collectors rush to secure legendary varieties before they disappear into permanent collections. What makes this coin emotional, almost haunting, is how many people handled it. This penny passed through gas stations, grocery stores, and payphones. It lived a normal life. And yet, a tiny design choice made it one of the most dangerous coins to ignore in US history. Full fine to new condition is the dream scenario. The surfaces are clean. The details are intact. The diagnostics are clear. This is the kind of coin that can change a family's future with one expert opinion. So, if you've been watching closely, you already know the truth. The coins you ignore, the pennies you toss aside, the ones hiding in plain sight, those are the ones that rewrite lives. If this video made you look twice at your change, you're not alone. And if you want to stay ahead of the next hidden fortune, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next discovery could already be in your pocket.